GRC. And guess what? You thought I was going to miss the show yesterday. I thought I was going to miss the show yesterday, and I didn't miss the show yesterday because I'm a grinder and I have such bad anxiety that I drove home as fast as I could to catch the last half of it. Guys, we have a crazy day today. Sam was up way past his bedtime tweeting with RH last night. He's in makeup right now. He's freaking out a little bit, so let's just hope he can handle himself enough to get his point across. We all had a fun night. I'm going to the gym after this. We got rags to riches in the green room. One of the guys responsible for helping me have the confidence to start streaming, very open-minded, very nice to the new guys. He spreads the love. He's a family man. You know, we're a little bit more like gorilla apes around here, but geopolitics, the relation between geopolitics, the market. I mean, that's what I watch rags for, like in my personal time. Like when any geopolitical stuff's going on, that's usually when I start tuning into rags again, because he's on top of that stuff and I always really appreciate it. Military man, thank you for your service, sir. Guys, we have a crazy episode today. The Hexagon Fitness Challenge, everything going on. Smash the like, do all the smashies. Dude, I've been beefing up. I'm getting beefy. It's redonkulous, actually. I didn't even know I'd be getting this beefy. Guys, 2022, Hex.com, pulse chain to the future. We're never working again, guys. We're going to the moon. Let's freaking go. Biceps in the chat.
Young folks, you tripping on them motherfucker.
Richard Hart.
Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Point one every day we mark. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the Hex, he is mooning. Looking at wives they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out and they'll get me a check. He's gas up and got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart.
What's up?
How's everybody doing today?
Dude, is that the best intro in the community, dude?
I don't even try. That's the funny
Dude,
part.
did you see me bobbing? Dude, I was getting down.
Oh,
man.
you
Hold
talking about got my Hex from the start?
on. The whole
Dude,
thing, man.
oh, no, that's
I got to show you something. Can I show you something? It's important.
Rags.
I called
love
these.
that the other. I love when the other person's a streamer and they can just like show people shit.
All right,
because
dude,
they're
so-
used to streaming.
I call this the noisy cricket. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Whoa, what?
Look at that noisy cricket.
Dude.
Look at that noisy cricket.
Some biceps in the chat for rags to
That's
riches
in
over
the
here.
chat for rags to riches.
You see that, man?
Hey, Sam, you might not know this, and Sam, Rags, I think this is the first time ever seeing each other or really talking in any way. Have you guys ever met each other before?
No,
I
this
didn't know
time
that
this
or not. So
Those
Sam, this
glasses are
is
dope,
this
though.
is my co-host, Sam. He is my life coach of many years. He bangs out videos for the last 10 years. He's been banging out 1,000, 2,000 videos a year, just every single day, just in this like fitness, everything he's into at the time. He's very emotionally like connected to his work in the way like he wants to feel the inspiration when he's doing it. And now we've come to this point together where I mentioned to him about Hex.com, Richard Hart, stuff like this 40, 45 days, 50 days ago now. And it's like, I said, Sam, I don't care if you buy shit. I don't care if you have money. You have a lot of money. I said, learn about this shit right now. Like,
Sam, I've been seeing
stop
you
what
go
you're
off.
doing.
He's going off, man. I mean, now I think if I remember correctly, my brain just holds random stuff. I'm scrolling through Twitter. You're 6'3"?
6'1", just like between
Okay.
6'1", 6'2".
Oh, damn. I've been fudding. I've been saying you were taller than you were.
You're pretty beefy, man. I mean, now what's impressive are your quads. Your legs are pretty big, dude. I noticed that. And like, you got to notice that because that's where the work's put in, right?
100%.
Yeah, well, I also want to make a statement on that. So true, though. Like, Sam is fucking amazingly. His legs for someone who's 6'1", crazy.
Right,
like,
right.
Also has a lot of difference how tall you are. When you're taller, way harder. Way harder, dude. And people say I'm shorter, so people FUD that all the time. I'm like, dude, I can pack on size on my legs in like 4 weeks. No, seriously. But anyway, like my quads and legs, extremely vascular, extremely large, extremely strong, and I hardly train them.
That's awesome. How tall are you?
But my upper body, I train my arms almost every day, and they're still a little bit scrawny to me. Well, maybe a little body dysmorphia, But anyway, guys, real quick, yeah, Sam is one of the most dedicated bodybuilders over the last decade that I have ever seen in the world. As far as not like he doesn't do stage stuff, but diet, macronutrient, and calorie, paying attention, writing stuff down, always taking notes, always adding to his diet, always comparing and contrasting what works better for his gut, what works better for this, that, and the other, to the point where he's so optimized now that he can literally intellectually tear through 99.7% of humans within moments.
Woo!
No, that's why he's on this show, and it's not any hate on anyone, but I love to show people an optimized life.
Yeah,
changes this, dude.
That's right.
Like you can be smart, gifted naturally, but if you change this, you get 50% better. Like when he started teaching me that eating right had something to do with my brain function years and years ago. Years and years. When you're a kid, you're like, McDonald's makes your brain funky? I didn't know that. But he started, I was like, why do you eat all these vegetables, dude? And he's like, dude, so good for your liver, so good. And I was like, oh man, your organs, you're worried about your organs? Okay.
It's like when you're young, you can't tell the negative effects that food has on your mood and your brain. It's when you get to be like late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, that's when it hits. You're like, oh wow, I just ate that and I feel bad for the next 24 hours. There's something there, right, Sam?
Or does your brain just figure out how to tie it together? Like maybe kids feel like shit too, but they don't even know they feel like shit because they're kids.
I'm envious, or not envious. I acknowledge your mic, Rex Riches. Your ASMR quality would be very good with that mic, dude.
How much you drop for the mic, Rags? How much you drop for the mic, Rags?
How much I what for the what?
How much you drop for the mic?
Oh, I think this was $3.99.
Oh, it's good. It's very good.
Yeah, see, Sam,
this was a free one.
Sam, I want to be the one to give you a mic. I want to be the one to buy you a mic because you've helped me so much. I feel like, but I'm not giving you a $400 mic, motherfucker. I have mics like this. I can send you one and just play around with them.
Just get one of these.
Yeah,
get the
that's
Yeti.
The same one I have. Same
Yeti
shit.
Blue, man. It sounds great. Jim Rat.
How does mine sound?
It sounds great.
Yeah, thank you. Sam, you could compliment mine too every once in a while. Make me feel special. Rags comes on. I'm like, my shit sucks. No, this is what you do, Sam. Listen to me right here. This is alpha. Anyone listening that wants to be a streamer, amazing alpha. Go to Facebook Marketplace. Change the age range and the width. Find young streamers that quit streaming and they bought all the shit with their parents' money that are selling it for weed now. That is what you do. That is how I bought all this shit. Producer worthy shit for like $200 because the dude probably just wanted some beer and some weed.
Yep.
Yes,
and I have a pull up green screen, all sorts of fucking shit.
Literally stealing candy.
And I was like, dude, he's like, you have $200 cash? I was like, yes. Yeah, dude, this is a lot of shit, bro. I was about to give him like 500, dude. I was like, dude, this is way too much. But I was like, I just quit my job. Fuck this. I'm out.
when you guys were talking
Let's get a little bit into business before we're so friendly. It's not always friendly up in here in this crypto in the morning, okay? It's not always friendly, Sam and I are on a mission to change crypto streaming forever.
Wow, okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Good.
How are you going to do that?
I want to be the standard for people, not as far as like size and as far as transparency and truth.
Okay.
Because everything that we say, me and Sam swear to each other, I reiterate to him, he has his moral compass already lined up, but I'm still young and I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing it for the right reasons, right? So it's like, I always have to remind Sam, I'm like, Sam, if I'm getting off target, you have to tell me, because I know the way to success is the way that, but you get swaying as you go because you get influenced. That's why you got to keep your circle tight. That's why I always remind Sam, I'm like, dude, if I'm getting loose or wacky, I tell him, I said, stop me early. You give your friends permission to stop you early.
Got to.
So, so it helps you, because I told him I have a track record. I've gone on serial dating benders.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Where I forget what I'm doing and I'm like, want to date people all the time. It's like, you know what I mean? So you got to get in here. I want to change it so I can like project my life, not as an expert, but just as like a human. You know what I mean?
No, that's awesome. I think Sam, you can agree or disagree with this, but I think the simple fact that you're giving Sam permission to offend you is huge, because you have to have that type of friend. You got to have that type of person, or else you will be wayward and your ego takes over and it's game over. So I love that, man.
Rex Riches, before we jump into anything, because I don't have any context, right? Like I've been into crypto for 60 days or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know anything about you. Can you give me like the elevator pitch of like a 2 or 3 minute story about you kind of thing?
Sure,
So,
dude.
There's probably people in the comments who also
Yeah.
don't have
And for everyone in the comments, after he mentions this, I'm going to actually mention the comments. Go ahead, Rex.
Dude, I barely graduated high school and now here I am.
That's it. He's done. Okay, on to the comments.
Dude, so I went to the military. I served the military for a number of years, and I got out. I was actually a weatherman in the military, meteorologist. That was kind of cool. And I got out of the military, and in my 20s, I'm trying to find myself, just doing all the dumb stuff, trying to figure things out, this and that. And I heard about crypto maybe in 2000 and heard about Bitcoin in 2013. I opened up my Coinbase account in 2014. And when I opened up Coinbase, there was only Bitcoin in Coinbase. And then they added Ethereum eventually. And then I think they added Litecoin after that. And for a long time, there's only 3 that you could trade. So I got into that. I made all the wrong decisions. I tell people constantly that I lost more money probably than everybody in the chat combined.
Yes, that makes me feel so good.
And so it definitely was something where like I hate losing though. And I always have to like realign myself and adapt, and I try to learn because I hate losing. I always want to win. So I thank God for 2018 when the market crashed and I lost a lot of my money. I just went on a learning binge and I was like, how can I not do this again? How can I be prepared for the next run up, for the next cycle?
Were you trading at that time?
Yes, trading constantly.
Okay.
So I forgot where it came from, but the whole DCA thing was like, okay, this makes sense. I did the trading thing. I lost way too much money doing that. So I got into DCAing. I got into the bottom of the market on a fire sale for all these coins like Cardano, Matic at the time. I got into Luna when it launched here in the past couple years, got into that. Just everything. I bought a $500 bag of Dogecoin 4 or 5 years ago, and I ended up actually forgetting about that. So I did all the things that I didn't do before, and it got me to this point. And then I found Hex, found Richard Hart, and he's preaching, dollar cost averaging, this and that. I had a Rags to Riches Telegram group before I found Hex.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
That's
I
really
had that.
awesome. I didn't know that.
So I
Cool.
basically onboarded everybody in my Rags to Riches Telegram group to Hex and Richard Hart and Pulse Chain.
Where did you
and
get
all
the
that.
traffic for that? I don't know what you were dealing with back then, but like, were you just tweeting on Twitter about random
Dude,
crypto,
no, it
Ethereum, and
was
Bitcoin?
absolutely wild. So my friends kept saying, dude, you need to make a group. You need to make a group. And I'm just at work. I'm like, dude, Bitcoin's going to do this. Go long here, go short here. I'm doing TA. I'm making people, some cash here and there.
Hell yeah.
And they're like, make a group. I'm like, okay, I'll make a group. I didn't even make it. One of my friends in there, actually, their brothers, Steve and Matt, they created the Telegram group for me and added me to my own group. And they said, all right, So it was just 3 of us initially, and then somebody invited somebody, and before I knew it, dude, we had hundreds of people in there. I didn't do anything except word of mouth. I started
So you
doing
didn't have a YouTube channel or anything?
no. I started Telegram without anything, and then the questions just kept coming so much that I said, okay, I got to create a YouTube channel because I can't answer these questions. This is not scalable. So I started making videos, man, on everything that I was telling people before. If somebody asked a question, I'd be like, oh God, I got the video for that. Copy, paste, and then forget about it. Copy, paste. Because I didn't have time. I had a full-time job. I was in sales. I'm like crushing it in sales. I don't have time for that stuff. So it just kept going up, going up, going up. I found Richard Hart maybe like in, I'd say late 2019, early 2020. Twitter kept bringing his tweets up. And I'm like, who the hell is this asshat? And he's got the top hat on and he's talking trash. I'm like, well, this is entertaining. Follow. And he kept tweeting and tweeting and tweeting. And I'm like, I don't trust this guy. I don't trust this guy. Meanwhile, I'm the guy on the left side of the bell curve that's getting poorer as everybody else is getting richer for a year and a half. And I finally got 100% on board. I had a small bag, but I got 100% on board and staked after I saw Richard Hart.
What was the time frame? When did you do that?
When did I stake?
Yeah.
I staked in 2021.
2021, guys. You hear that? 2021. We're still so early. So,
yeah. I staked in 2021 after I saw Richard Hart destroy Alex Saunders. And at that point in time, when all that, are you familiar? You're probably not familiar with what happened to Alex Saunders.
He's not. I don't think he's familiar with that yet. So let me jump it real quick.
Yeah.
There was this guy who was all over the internet doing paid groups. He was kind of successful. Everyone watched his shit. He was a little bit, underground-ish, I guess, more like paid group shit kind of stuff. But anyway, he ended up robbing like 5 or 6 people. He just asked them for money for a loan, basically, and never paid them back. And then nobody said anything about it until Richard was doing a one-on-one live stream with it. And Richard basically decided to tell everyone he was a fucking scam artist and that he pulled up some tweets and DM'd some tweets of him saying 50 Bitcoin that he borrowed from him and he won't pay him back. But he did it to like 5 or 6 people. Like it was clear that it continued. Other people kept saying the same thing was occurring to them. BitBoy, everyone. So ruined his career. Ever since that day, he has not peeked to the internet, except for yesterday. He tweeted that he was an opiate addict and that he was sorry about everything.
Oh wow! So this dude would.
But he's a lying scumbag.
He went live with Richard. You're watching this show with this dude that you had also been following. Thank you, Tank Crypto.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Tank Crypto.
Thanks, man.
Sorry, I
appreciate you.
A different screen. Tank Crypto. Thank you for the super sticker. I like your. Oh, is that? I like your emblem, dude. Tank, is that your little emblem for your Tank Crypto? That's cool, dude. You should make a channel if you don't. Dude, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. So get your ass on the internet.
Yeah.
We should call you Weatherman. So you're watching this video, they're live, and he calls this fucker out right in the show.
It was a very uncomfortable stream because Alex Saunders was doing what everybody else is doing, and he's like, look at this shit coin. There's no volume. And Richard's like, why would there be volume on a coin that's designed to be staked? We don't trade this. That's not the point of this. And he kept hammering Richard. Richard kept hammering him back. And then they get off the street. No, this was what really set it off. At the very end of the stream, Alex is on Richard's show, and Alex starts shilling his paid groups. And Richard goes, no, click, and disconnected him. He's like, you're not going to shill your trash paid groups here. It's not going to happen, whatever, right? So Alex goes on his Twitter and just starts slamming Richard and saying that Richard cut him off because the truth hurt and this and that. So Richard takes screenshots of Alex over like the past, 9 months or something, and shows Alex like first begging Richard for Hex to come on Richard's show to talk about Hex on Richard's show. And then secondly, he starts asking Richard for loans. And basically was like, yeah, I got these guys that I owe some money to, and I'm kind of worried about it. And Richard's like, well, hey, dude, maybe you should move and maybe you should hide your family because those aren't the people you want to be messing with, blah, blah, blah. So Richard releases this whole thing to where this guy is just trying to get Bitcoin from it. And then BitBoy comes out and says, hey, I can corroborate this because everybody thought Richard had photoshopped this stuff, like all the haters did. And BitBoy comes out. He's like, dude, I gave him some Bitcoin a while back. He never paid me back. And then another influencer says, I gave him some Bitcoin a while back. He never paid me back. And then it just started going, boop, 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 boop. Richard saved a bunch of influencers. And who knows how many other people. Alex Saunders disappears off the face of the map. Gone. Vanishes. Right? And then you start seeing articles. New Zealand is suing him. New Zealand, Australia is trying to bring him back to charge him. He's from Tasmania. They're trying to charge him. All these people are looking for him. I'm like, that dude is probably has something to do with some type of organized drug crime rings or something. He is just absolutely gone. Until yesterday, if you go to Alex Saunders AU, he releases this trash statement and he takes no responsibility for anything that he did.
Oh, he's the biggest bullshit
opioid and his back problems. I'm like, yeah, my back broke after Richard wrecked me. Right after
this
that,
dude sent all this Bitcoin that he got directly to the leverage exchange. Everything he gets, he sends to, because this is what happens, Sam, when you get addicted to leverage. This is what happens. This is exactly what happens. He's not an opiate. Maybe he is an opiate addict. Maybe he's not. He's addicted to leverage. Clearly, because if you had 50 Bitcoin at any time, he could have just been chilling. Just like he was just addicted to making some imaginary amount of money that doesn't exist in a world that he doesn't get wrecked somehow.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul and begging for a payday.
So you watch his stream and then you kind of like pay attention to what's happening on Twitter post. How long after this takes place did you be like, wow, I respect this, like I like it when people call out bullshit and just like, and how long after that did you decide to be like, hey, I'm gonna put some money in here?
I think I did now I had to admittedly here. I did a stream teaching my community, or not even a stream, a video teaching my community on how to stake hex. And at the time it was a lot of hex. And like, I had to take that video down because I don't want people seeing what I did at that time. But it was probably I think about a week after I was like on board. Everything started transpiring. I'm like, okay, I'm on board. He just saved a lot of people. He called this dude out. He wrecked him, but that's awesome because there's pockets of bad all over the world, and we have got to eradicate that. And he just did that in a big way. And there were a lot of influencers out there that didn't have the balls to speak up and say what was happening to them. And the problem with that is when you don't speak up, you give a green light to those predators to screw other people. So I love that Richard did it. So I was on board at that point, 100%.
And that's why mother effers don't come on this show too. Like certain people you'll never see on this show for a good reason, because they know I'm gonna cut right through that fat right away. I'm gonna be like, dude, what are you doing, and who's for what reason? If they're doing something normal, who cares? But if it's directly involved in crypto, like this is a crypto show, so I'm gonna dive balls deep into that, right? If he has a business selling lawn shit and it's shady, I don't give a fuck. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, and it's our responsibility to do that.
That's what I'm here for. I feel
this goes in real life too, Rags.
As men,
like, yes, we need more strong men. We need more strong women in the world, across the world today, to stand up to the bullshit, not just in terms of like what's happening with the government, but what is also happening with your friends when they make excuses and they just lie about their own future to themselves. And you got to call them out on that. And you can do it in a tactful way. If you're new to calling somebody out on their bullshit, like the first couple of times might be a little bit awkward and you might like bring some emotions to the surface in your response to them.
It's easier when you have 27-inch quads. Piercing out of your short shorts while you're 6'1" on over top of the guy. No, but he's so right. Like you do have to get to the point where you have to stick your finger into other men's chests and say, if you don't believe what you're saying, I'm going to make that known to everyone. Like I believe what I'm saying, and if you don't, I'm gonna push you out of this conversation.
And that's the problem with all this is like for most of my upbringing, I grew up in a society that tried to dumb us down and basically dampen us down, real men. And at this point, I'd say it really switched for me in the military. I said, I am done listening to freaking children and idiots tell me what to do and tell me who I should be and who I shouldn't be. and I'm tired of listening to other people lie about things and not saying anything. I said, I'm done with it. So I'm completely done with that. I'm going to speak truth to everything now, and I don't care if it offends you, because truth fixes things. Anti-truth does not. So that's, I think you guys, both you guys, also feel the same way. I get that vibe from you, just about
And
the world in general.
when you look back at your life, I bet when you were not necessarily as committed to the truth, you probably intrinsically knew at some level, but as you committed to the truth, I bet your life and mental state is far more peaceful today, because you don't have to, right?
You're committing, dude. When you commit to the truth, it's freeing. You don't have to worry about anything. And it wasn't that I was lying, it was that I wasn't standing up for what was right, because we are taught from a young age not to cause problems, right? Don't, just keep your mouth shut, just stay low. They'll do what they'll do, and it'll come back to get them eventually, this and that. But I don't like that passive way of approaching things, especially like we said, when you when you know of something bad that's happening and somebody's doing something wrong, you don't say anything. You're complicit in all the other victims that they're going to create. So yeah,
And it
I
starts
completely
it
agree.
starts with, like, because I was in the same spot, but I did it, with myself in many regards. And as you do that, the first person that you call out, first person I call out is myself. And like the first person, I'm like, bro, you're fucking your shit up. You're not committing to doing your shit. You're saying this and you're not doing it. Like, it's like you need to punch yourself in the face, because like I have goosebumps, because this is like a real thing. You have to commit to the truth for yourself and be brutally honest with yourself, because you can't grow. You can't move forward. You can't learn. People want change, but they don't want to fucking change.
Dude,
Like,
and I think that's the in terms of maturation and development for a man, at least, I think that's the most important thing. The ability to self audit, the ability to step outside yourself and look at yourself and point the finger at you instead of other people. And when you can get to that point and you understand that that's the only way that your life actually moves forward, everything gets better. But there's a lot of men that we know, man. There's a lot of people that we know in general that never have that ability. They stop aging emotionally at like the age of 17, 18, 19, and they
Right when they
stay
start
that way
having
emotionally
kids and
forever.
shit, if you haven't done that kind of thinking at all, by the time you have a family and you have pressure on you financially, like, I'm not saying you can't think like that when you have kids, but it's like once you have kids, like, your progress in that kind of mental space, because someone's relying on you now, right? So it's like, I'll kill another man when it comes to your family, right? Like, if you're out of shit, you'll, like, that's what I understand. When people say they're struggling, this is the problem with streamers. They don't want to say they're struggling if they are not struggling, but like, hey guys, I'm trying to make money. But no, they say I've been fucking rich for a fucking decade. And I'm like, whoopsie, you made a mistake a decade ago, because you've been broke the whole time. And now everyone thinks you're rich, dude. And it's okay to be transparent. I tell people, guys, this is how transparent I am. I'm like, I got 4 or 5 months of money. And at that point, if I'm looking like I'm about to die, maybe something's going on. But I tell people, I'm like, yeah, I'm not rich. I can hardly afford steak. But at the same time, I'm choosing to do this. I could have just worked my job and not been, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like someone was like, Scott, you better start streaming and quit.
but that authenticity is 100%
yeah,
true.
it's like, dude, guys, I'm not a genius. I don't want to teach you guys things. No one that is talking to you is a genius. No one. There is no geniuses. They're just, everyone has different skills. I am a genius compared to Richard when it comes to dieting. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. And he would say the same thing, dude. He probably has not spent as much time researching dieting as I.
Yeah.
So are you
spent
still
much
working?
more time learning about programming and computers and Bitcoin mining and blah, 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 all the way through to the point where now he's a leader in the space because he's willing to open his fucking mouth and not get paid to have a big stick shoved up his ass. Yeah, he's heavy, whatever, doesn't matter. He won't get paid to play. That's
Huge.
That's what separates Richard. He will not accept your money because he knows that he's a leader in a certain position. Everyone is in a different position. He's in that position, right? And like, he will not accept money because he's saying, guys, I'm a leader in this space. I'm taking control. I'm going to be number one in this space. No one's going to pay me. I'll pay them.
I mean, I think I have superpowers. Maybe not a genius, but I do believe I have superpowers.
You
Somebody
do have superpowers. Sam's
Dan-
the only one that doesn't count on that.
Dan said
Sam's over here like,
Romanian Dan says that Rags is a genius.
Oh yeah, he's one of my Filipino virtual assistants. I pay him to come in here and do that on
no,
every
he
stream.
makes memes for me, dude. I love his fucking memes, dude.
Oh
They're
yeah,
so
dude. They're
funny,
he'll
dude.
make these videos and they're like,
He's the meme sponsor of this channel, and he never accepted the role.
Well, thank you. I'll take it.
the video clips that he puts out. So Rags, are you currently still doing sales?
No, I actually, so I'm going to be pretty transparent about this too. This is kind of a weird story. So I was in sales, and I was in sales. I've been in sales for probably 9 years. My mom always told me I'd be really good at it. I'm like, shut up, Mom. You don't know anything about my life. And then I got older and I tried it and I crushed. I made 6 figures. I'm pretty proud about this. 6 figures selling cell phones. And that's really freaking hard to do. Like, that's a grind, slinging cell phones, right? So I did that. And then I was like, you know what? I got to level up. I got to move up. I got this crypto thing. I got to fund the crypto. I got to fund it. I got to figure out how to make more money. I'm tired of selling cell phones. I got into financial advising right about the same time that I started doing my YouTube channel, right? I get called in the office and they're like, hey, listen, we found out you have a YouTube channel. We found out it's about crypto. You're going to have to go ahead and give that up. We can't take on that liability of you giving out financial advice on your YouTube channel and you being securities licensed. Like, that's just not
Thank
something
you
we're
for
willing
the
to do.
555 steak.
Thank you, Bob.
T
Bob,
dot
what's good?
T dot. I love it. Dude, Bob's one of my favorite guys.
You got that flash.
Bob
Le guy.
/ Maximus Dow guy 5, dude. The fact that Bob put his name behind something, I FOMO'd when Bob put his name behind it. When Bob puts his name on anything, I FOMO. So just know that moving forward, if you ever have a rug pull, Bob, just lay it on me.
That's right.
So what happened when?
Dude, so they were like, they bring me in the office. They're like, you can't be securities licensed and have this YouTube channel, because if one of our clients stumbles across your YouTube channel and you're telling everybody that PulseX is going to do a 10,000x, that creates problems for us. So they're like, you'll have to go ahead and give up your YouTube channel. This is on a Friday. On a Monday, I'm like, I'm out. I'm not giving up my YouTube channel.
Wait, they fucking did. What was it? A huge, I guess.
Hey, you want to drop the name?
I don't want to know what company.
Mutual
it was.
Omaha.
Wild though,
Mutual
dude.
Omaha.
Did they pull
My
a
buddy
hex
just
tangent
quit
on your ass?
I can't, but here's the thing. I can't blame them, because that's just like, when I got hired, we didn't have that conversation. There's no way for them to have
Were you
brought up
selling phones?
what? Doing what?
When you left, were you still getting sales?
Oh, well, I left Verizon and went to this other place.
I see. So you were
Yeah.
okay. So it's a different kind of scenario.
But like it's just like common sense. If I have you working for, or somebody working for me, and I have them selling my shit, and they're on the other side of the road talking about how something else is so amazing, as in crypto, they don't get.
But what if they're
paid
selling,
on
like
crypto.
selling out though? What if they're just ripping sales?
Well, no, 100%. They get paid to sell like life insurance. They get paid to sell like long-term care. They get paid to manage your money. All of that shit they get paid on. They don't get paid if you tell them to do the right thing in crypto.
Guys,
Oh yeah, and that's why, because I'm building. This is a good way to transition. Like, I'm trying to build my reputation, right? And I know it's going to take longer than it takes. A long time, guys. So if I start doing shit shady now, what is that? I'm going to build a foundation on nothing that is shady already. So
do you know how hard it was for me, Jim Rat, to sit in front of people like insurance products or financial products? And like, in my mind, I know that for 30 years, they might 7 to 10x their portfolio in 30 years.
Oh.
And then I go home and do crypto videos and I'm like 7 to 10x. That's a Thursday night for me. So it's like, it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I left and now I'm not like torn.
Dude,
like,
that was God talking to you, brother.
It was. And if people would ask me about crypto, I'd be like, I'd give them my YouTube channel. But I was serving 2 masters and I couldn't do it anymore. And I knew in my heart that it was going to come to a head eventually, because the traditional finance system, man, like, nothing against all the people I used to work for or the people that are in it now. It's just there's a better way now, and nobody's talking about it. And I don't care what metric that you try to make up to say that crypto's horrible. There are ways to do it safely, and there are ways to do it lucratively, and it's going to outpace inflation, outpace the traditional markets by untold magnitudes over the next 20 years. And nobody's talking about it because they're just clutching on to that last piece of financial energy they can before things get weird. Things are about to get weird, folks.
I don't even know if it's financial energy too. Sometimes it's mental energy. People are afraid. People are afraid to make the dive into a new product because it's like a bodybuilder. If them saying like, "Oh, bodybuilding's not important anymore. It's all about something else now." They'd be like, "What?" Like, "Oh my god!" Like, no. It's about bodybuilding, and you know what I mean. Like they're gonna hold on emotionally.
Bodybuilders are slightly, well, at least from my experience, are slightly unique because if you tell a bodybuilder, "Hey, this will help you lean, this will help you get pocket size," they'll be like, "Oh, give me that. Let me fucking inject that shit." Right? Like yes, I agree. There's so many.
No, I know what you're saying. You're right too, but like, yeah, I want to get into. We're 36 minutes in, and I think we got 76 people in the chat. Real quick, guys, if you're in here and you're enjoying yourself, share this out for your boy. Smash the like for your boy. We're having a good time here. We're here every single day. We're going to be covering Pulse Chain every single day as it drops, 11 a.m. Eastern, trying to make sure everyone doesn't get robbed. So let's go. Guys, hit the like, hit the share, blah, blah, blah. I want to talk a little bit about your interaction with Marco, the Hexagon.
Marco!
What you're doing, fellas. Love this show in the morning. It helps get things done in the morning. A pleasure to hear. Thank you, Marco. Thank you so much for your $50 super chat. Everyone, when you come into this community, you hear a lot of things about a lot of people, right? And usually none of them are true for the most part. It depends who's saying them, right? Every person the people that I have on this show, I have met or talked to, and I respect. Marco's one of those guys who was like, I heard people saying this, that, and the other about him, and like he was the nicest dude and the most honest dude I'd ever talked to. And I was like, fuck everyone. And it wasn't anyone specific, but when you're new, people just say shit. And everyone's there's just so much talking. People are in groups talking about people, talk this, that, the other, like, and to the point where nothing's even real anymore. But I'm telling you, some of these guys, these Hexicans, get to know them, send them a DM. Marco's one of them. He's a freaking beast.
Marco, Motley investor, and maybe like a handful of other people. They were one of the first people that were like supporting me early on. Like I had less than 1,000 subs on YouTube, and nobody else was. So, dude, I love Marco, man. I love me some Marco.
Molly's good.
Molly's like a good man. Like, it's all about just being a good man at the end of the day. Like, you can just tell, like, this, that, and the other, whatever content you make, you can tell if someone goes home, takes care of their family, and like, it's just that's the kind of guys I'm attracted to. Like
Valiant
leaders,
Brand
right?
too. I forgot Valiant Brand.
Oh my god, Valiant Brand's literally.
He was my first interview.
Valiant Brand was like my first. Like he was like before I even staked Hex on the phone with me. Like literally like Telegram phone calls, just like talking to me about like how great this is going to be moving forward. Like just like geeking out about the future. Just like of technology and money and all that shit. And this dude was already retired, and I was like working some pleb job. I didn't even have any Hex. I was just we're just chit chatting. Like this I was like, these guys are so weird. Like, why do they just want to talk? And it's like they want to meet like-minded people.
Yeah.
And I was showing myself as a like-minded person, kind of online, I guess.
You have Hex, right? Originally, where you have Hex, and that's kind of gate kept in several different ways, right? So then you're in the community and you want to share like private information. When something happens in your personal life that is exciting or fun, or like you just made progress or growth, like you want to tell people about it. You're like, hey baby, like this is what's up, right? Or you tell your friends about it, right? So you have that. And then you also have this gargantuan, like Grand Canyon of a knowledge gap between people in crypto and like everybody else. And so you can't, the two of these together where people are just like, they want to share this amazing thing. And then they also want to like bring people up to speed and get them across that Grand Canyon of a knowledge gap. And it is like Grand Central with this community. There are so many awesome people in this community willing to help out, willing to share information, like getting on phone calls. Like,
because you can save a life in 17 minutes if someone's paying attention. You know what I mean? It's also a lot of value. Like when somebody comes up to me, right? Like someone like Sam, I'm like, Sam has a lot of potential energy moving forward. This is just me physically, reality. Someone like Sam comes up to me, I'm like, this dude's a grinder. Like if he knows about this shit and gets rich as fuck, like he's gonna want to be cool with me. Not like money, but like cool with me, right? Like you trying to build people that are cool with you too, that are awesome and that have a lot of potential energy. So if you have business ideas moving forward, it's just a little bit more easy to like, I'm always been a networker myself. So like finding people, talking to people, adding value into people's lives. That's kind of what I've always done. Like I've just tried to jump in. Hey, Sam, can I give you some money to like talk to me for an hour? Like that's how I started. I just DM'd him online like years ago. And I was like, can I just pay for an hour or so of your time? And he was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's how it worked.
Like I didn't know at all. I had like no subs. So he was probably just like, yeah, whatever.
Look, what
But
is
immediately
this?
immediately I FaceTimed him so he would know. Like I'm here. Oh my God.
Hex and Chill Girl. Wow.
Hex and Chill Girl.
$100.
No matter what anyone says about anyone, doesn't matter. Hex and Chill Girl. She is so awesome. She's so sweet. She sends me like motivational, like fucking, like how girls will send you a nice motivational little meme or what. They're not memes, but they're like, I only read memes, so I don't even know what else to call pictures, but like motivational shit where it's just like, keep grinding, do all this shit. Like she's just super nice. She's a mom. She's awesome. Thank you for the 99 super chat. You keep it up, Hex and Chill Girl. And you should come on the show sometime and chill.
Yes. So there is a ton of comments in here. I just want to say hi. Chad is always in here supporting Hector, Sandy Beach, Hexkin Tattooer. What's good? Hexkin Siren, how you doing? Taffrin.
Hex Siren, I love you, Hex Siren. She's amazing too. Hex Siren is amazing.
So
Hex Siren's awesome.
I want before you came on, Regs. GRC was letting me know that you focus on some macro stuff. Is that so? I want to show you some data, macro level data, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay.
Let me see if I can pull this up to give it a little bit of preview. This is the largest search engine in the world and the second largest search engine. So Google and YouTube on Google Trends for the word crypto over the last 5 years. And it's very interesting, right? So let me pull this up so you guys can see this. And then I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Because I found this yesterday. And I was like, I'm going to actually do a separate video on it today. Let me make it a little bit bigger so we can.
This is where it gets good, Rags. Rags, this is kind of Sam. Like, this is a lot of what I've learned from Sam is like, well, just a piece of what I've learned from Sam. It's just like he does a lot of these Google Analytics. Like he loves looking at who's clicking on websites at how frequently, where, United States. Like, so he's done a lot of comparing and contrasting over the last week. I'd say PancakeSwap, Uniswap, PulseX, stuff like that. Just terminologies in crypto because he's so new that he's just like, let me get a broad look at just who's clicking these buttons, right? And that's what, at least if I might be phrasing that wrong, but
no, but I want to, because I don't have any clue what's going on, and I think of like research or like understanding as a mosaic, right? If you look at like a picture, say this picture myself, but it was a mosaic and it's tiny little itty bitty pieces of things that all come together, and it's like, oh, that's Sam's face.
You better remember that thought because I'm going to stop you right there. Hex Siren, I can buy steak. Guys, I'm not going to lie. I went to the grocery store before this, looked at the steak, looked at the price, and I put it right back. I couldn't do it. It got to that point, Rags. This is the first week where when I was grocery shopping, I deferred on the steak and just went for chicken drums because it was actually, I'm outpriced from steak now. Not because I couldn't have bought it technically, but I was just like $22 for one steak. And
it's insane, man. That's insane.
One meal, dude. It wasn't even, it was like, I could eat 2 of those with like literally no problem.
I'm having to get ground beef 5 pounds at a time and pre-cooking it, man, because I'm all carnivore. So
no, we should talk.
Dude, you need to come on to. Oh no, guys, no.
Yeah.
No. The fake one, no.
Valley bread, $133.
Valiant. My
man. Thank you, Valiant. What's
Valiant.
up?
I can't talk when I get so excited. Valiant brand. You know,
By the way, anybody who
when this
doesn't
show
have
first
the
started, Valiant Brand messaged me on Telegram and he said, "Send me your information for Zelly or something." And
Yeah,
and I was like, "I don't know what Zelly is," and he said, "Well, download it." And I said, "Okay." So I downloaded Zelly, right? And he wouldn't have wanted me to say this, but it was so long ago now that I'm going to say it. And I think I told Sam this anyway. But and he said, "I'm gonna send you some money," and I was like, "Dude, you don't have to." Blah blah blah. Classic. Like I just stopped working, so I mean, I did have money at the time, probably more. And he was like, he just sent me like $800, and then he was like, "Dude, you're doing such a good job," and I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, and that's when I just decided I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take this to the next level because I'm doing something right. It wasn't about the money. Like I don't think I've ever taken money out of the super chat thing, but like, it wasn't about the money. It was like I was like, why? Why is this occurring? Like put the money all aside. Obviously, I was working for so long. I had money at some points, no money at some points, but I was just like, why are they sending this money in this day and age on a platform that's literally a Nazi platform? Like, and it's just like it's because they want this to continue moving forward for all of us. It's like a collective thing, and then it makes you want to in turn act the same way. It like when someone sends me that, it makes me want not to send money, but to like be more aggressive in finding content that's valuable, right? Where I could easily just say 10,000. I could just be like Rags and say pulse to the moon, 10,000. No, I'm just kidding. No, but that's what a lot of guys do. Their first video is Hex a scam?
Right.
The first video they ever make will be, is Hex a scam? And it's just like, you don't have to do that. You can provide real value and really learn. And I got to call these two out one more time. A mic for Sam. Sam, I actually do have a mic right here, and I'm sending it to you today. It's not Sam is a bodybuilder, guys. It's not as much about him being able to buy this stuff as it is like out of his character to buy anything.
Well, let me share.
I don't buy anything.
Let me share very, very quickly what my setup is. I have a computer that is 10 years old that does not have a Wi-Fi chip in it. So let me explain to that. So back in the day, you could buy computers and you could do stuff on computers. And you could buy software and you'd put in like a CD into the computer to get your software. And there was no Wi-Fi. If you wanted internet, you plugged in the Ethernet in the back of the computer. That is what I have here. And I literally tether it to another device that has Wi-Fi to be able to stream on here. My antiquated setup is at some point I will update.
Do you have a USB? Do you have a USB port?
I do.
You could get one of those USB Wi-Fi sticks. Plug that in too.
After the show, guys, when we get off, let's talk in the green room for like 10 minutes. Rags, I also have a couple questions for you about the setup. And Sam, once I move in with you, if you get your internet figured, like I have like excess shit here.
Somebody's actually at the door, so take me down and you guys chat for a second and let me
get out of here.
Yeah.
Guys, let me address the super chats before I get back to Rags real quick. Look at the production quality, by the way. Boom.
I know it's out of control. I saw your thumbnails too, dude. I'm impressed.
That's not me. That's bullish. I have a producer.
Well, it keeps it the same. It keeps it the same. I like.
Well, that's what he was telling me. He knows about the optimization, and he says this is just optimization.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Siren.
Wow. See, no, they want you to keep streaming, bro. And I think Valiant
I get weird when people send me shit like in my life. Like it's been so like. No, not in my life. Just like it's just weird. It's just like a weird thing.
You said your stakes for 22.
You know it's probably a good thing, but like it's just this is what I love. This is just exactly what I've always wanted to do. I've been watching YouTube live streams, doing paid groups for the last decade. It's all I've done, other than like hang out with friends, I guess.
The market rewards you, man, for good content. That's what's happening right now. You're doing good things. You're getting rewarded for it. Good for you, man.
I don't know if I can. Now I'm definitely not going to be able to keep up 55. With the fucking chat. Thank you so much, Siren. Hex Phantom, thank you so much, dude. Thanks, Hex Fam. Guys,
+1 if you need to take his shirt off. +1 to take the shirt off.
I'll take the shirt off for
take it off, man. They're paying you. You might as well take it off, dude.
When Sam comes back, I'll rip the shirt off. You know, it is so funny, Rags. Another weird thing about me is like I went through this whole ego transformation from like 24 to like 27, where I was like bodybuilding, didn't care about anything other than like my look, not even my looks, just like my ego and my social shit and all that. That's all I cared about. And I got it out of my system to the point where it's like people think it's weird that I'm flexing in front of a bunch of dudes, but like I don't even leave my house. So it's like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Like it like I've had, I've had so many experiences with so many people at this point that it's like, dude, we all just want Hex to Moon. This is all we love now. Like this is what we love. Like I don't care. And I love fitness too. And I also love to show people what's possible. Like you can be fit and sit at your computer all day. Like it's not that hard.
I see, dude. You've been making those. You've been grilling out chicken breasts, man, like
Dude,
crazy.
dude, chicken thigh is literally my savior, dude.
Yeah.
You cannot go wrong with chicken thigh, dude. You just cannot. You can't overcook it too easily, and it's juicy and it stays juicy. And fuck, man. And I got some drumsticks for later, dude. We're grilling out, baby. We're going drumsticks, guys. Thank you so much for all the super chats. Absolutely incredible, guys. I can't believe how nice and generous you are. We do have a topic, actually. But so basically, what is your take as far as, let's get a little like fan love right here. Mid-May. You like to pay attention to like the hype with this kind of stuff. Do you think mid-May is realistic? But I mean, I have no clue about that shit, dude. Like, I just don't have the slightest clue what's behind the scenes on all
I
that
think
stuff.
maybe like, yeah, I think mid-May. Originally, I thought by the end of this month. I think a cool date to launch would be on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo 5555. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Everyone wants it to be on a fun day. It's probably like when the last dev like crawls out of the room bleeding, and he's like, "Press the button."
Correct.
No, but it's been really cool seeing Richard and guys. Rags, I'm going to talk to you about this too. Get your stupid asses on Instagram. Do you guys know all you have to do is repost your stuff, right? Like you guys realize this is the future, right? So if you have a base on Instagram, when the future starts occurring, you're going to be popular just because you're there. So you might as well just repost your shit, because guys like me will like it. I'll just, like I like all the people, all the Hex people like all the Hex people's shit on
You
there.
got that down to a science, because I remember when we streamed the first time, you said this is what you do on Instagram. This is what you do with the girls. You go to the gym, you talk to a bunch of girls, you say, hey, let me get your Instagram. They go to your Instagram, they see you're a fun-loving guy, you're at the beach, you're having a good time, you're happy, this and that. And that's how you seal the deal. That's
It
what
works
you were
for
talking
crypto
about.
too, guys. It works for crypto too. I realized this afterwards. People like handsome, ripped people. It's a really odd, and but I mean, again, guys, I'm taking pictures. Like some pictures, I look like a freaking homeless dude. Like I literally picked out of like a bunch of pictures. You know what I mean? So hold on, I want to
Look at
pull this
that.
up real quick.
Now look
If
at your chat, man.
this
Look at
can
your
change
chat.
your life right here, guys. I'm going to say this in front of everyone. I don't bring this up on this show ever, but I'm going to say it now. This can change your life. I do not have to date. I don't have to do much. People come here and they see this page and they say, he seems like a guy who's friendly enough to at least have a drink with or have a chat with. Is that fair to say, Rags?
Fair.
Okay, so I'm not saying anything more than that. I'm not saying that a girl is like, oh my God, I will do what weird shit. No, they say, look, he clearly has a business. I could probably look him up, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Meet the 6'5" ex basketball star who stole Sasha Obama's
Somebody just
heart.
gave you $200.
What?
200 and $9.99. Wes,
Oh
thank you so
my
much.
God,
Excelsior.
dude. Sorry, I was clicked over. Excelsior. Let's win together, paying it forward. Guys, I feel uncomfortable. The immediate reaction is uncomfortability, but it's like really grateful too, uncomfortability. Like, thank you. I tried to do this the right way early on, Rags. I told myself, if you do this the right way, it will work out better.
It's
And,
working out.
I went 2 months, 15 hours a day, and it worked out, right? Like but I was researching for a year beforehand, a year watching all these guys every single day. Everything that Richard Hart came out with, I was studying, I was writing down shit. And then I was ready, like I was ready to make a jump. and then I got hacked, and then I was double ready.
Bro, I'm so proud of you, man. I can't be more proud of you. I've seen it, and you really, like I told you before, I've said this publicly. It solidified it when you turned that hack into, you springboarded that, man. Well done, dude. So proud of you, man.
That's how I do everything in my life, though, because at the end of the day, I'm here by myself, dude. Like, it's like there's no one coming to save me.
Yeah.
You
Except
know what I mean?
yourself.
Like, who am I gonna cry to about the hack?
Right.
Like, who's gonna make it feel better? Me tomorrow when I kick everyone's ass like I do every day.
And you
You
owned
know what
it.
I mean? Like, I'll make it feel better when I'm at the gym tomorrow morning, and I get 12 hours of work done by 4 p.m. and I'm done. My work day is done, and most people are just rolling out of shit. Like, and I just know you can just project yourself. If it's just about what you do, right? If you do something over and over again, you can predict that other people aren't doing it because I could see people, dude. Like, I see what they're doing. Like, they're either, some people are rich and fat, some people are fat and poor, some people, you know, like, but rarely, every once in a while, you can get yourself into a mental state that's just blissful enough where you can have money, have a good family, and have fitness, but it takes 100% transformation of everything that you're doing. You have to want to be healthy because you want to live longer, because you wake up in the morning and you love your life.
Mhm.
That's like the key that most people don't get. When I wake up in the morning, I'm excited about my opportunities moving forward. And it's great. And it's like, it doesn't matter if I never even did this stream. If the stream erased everything erased, tomorrow morning I'd be like, there's 1.5 million things we can get going.
Love
There's a
it.
lot of
Clip that. Hey,
opportunity,
chat,
dude.
clip that.
Rags was the first dude to be like, StreamYard, dude. A caveman could do it. And I was like, really? Like, really? And he was like, dude, 2 clicks and you're done. And I was like, oh, shit. Really? And that's how it was kind of moving forward. Hey, Sam, who was that? Was that the pizza man?
That was so the setup for the computer, this beautiful computer, this ancient antique. I'll put it into a museum when I'm done with it. But if you've been following on Twitter at all, I have the worst internet setup on the outside of the house for some reasons, and it's finally getting corrected and being put underground properly. And that was the dude who's going to be putting underground. I see that I missed a lot of.
Yeah, we had a lot. There was it got weird.
Like,
yeah, there's like a bunch of them.
Wow, thank you for everybody. That's
and
amazing.
we just kind of went through like how happy, I talked about all the super chats, and I was like, I knew the second I started this, if I did it this way, it would work out. But I knew I would fail 100% if I did it the other way.
So
it wasn't for me, like, it wasn't a moral thing or like an honesty thing. It wasn't like, I want to come in here and be honest so everyone knows this is the right thing to do. I don't give a shit what other people think about all that shit. All I knew is people need to trust me in order for me to have a brand moving forward. They have to trust me. How do you earn trust? You do the same thing every fucking day. I know for a fact Sam is going to wake up at whatever time he wakes up, 5 or 6 a.m. tomorrow. If I was about to die, I would trust that he would walk through that door because he does it every day. There's just no question. That's why he's my partner or my friend, and someone I want to work with moving forward, is because you can't find anyone in 2022 who's going to be there no matter what.
Right.
And that's something that a lot of bodybuilders do have in common. I'm gonna shut up for 5 seconds.
Let's get Rag's opinion on this.
Yes, please, go.
This chart here. So so this is the breakdown in terms of this time period is at the end of 2020. So I didn't look up the news, like old news, to see what was happening this time. It could have been when Canada was turning into China at this point, but like, look at the gargantuan, uptake in search interest, right? Because we know about how powerful intent-based ads are. And this is the largest search engine in the world. If you do the same thing for the second largest search engine, which is YouTube search volume, it's basically a mirror image, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on this from like a macro standpoint?
I think that when you look back, right, in you said that was 2018, it looks like. So that's
this was 2020 here, but all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah. You go all the way back, 2018. That was the blow off top. That's when Bitcoin went to like 19,700, almost 20,000. And everybody's Googling it. Everybody's trying to figure out, how can I get Bitcoin? How can I be rich? All those people at that spike, they bought the top. They bought the top, and they got wrecked. But little did they know, all they had to do was hold for about 2 years. They'd make their money back plus about a 10x. They didn't realize that. If they had dollar cost averaged, here's a cool little stat. If you dollar cost average from January of 2018 all the way to March 21st or March 20th of 2021, if you put $400 into Bitcoin, for example, you would have made $140,000 in about 24 months.
We'll say it again. So if you're putting $400 in a month,
$400 a month from January 1st, 2018 to March 20th, 2021, you would have made $140,000.
wow, guys, listen to that. So 400 times 24 months is you put $9,600 in, and you have a, what is that? A 14x increase, and that's on BTC. Right? That's not hex.
No, it's not hex. That's just Bitcoin, and this is what flies in the face of like, how come I felt so bad talking to people about traditional financial instruments is because I had that knowledge in my head. I'm like, all you got to do is dollar cost average. And they say, oh, look at the volatility. It's trash, blah, blah, blah. It has gone up 6.5 million X. Or percent, rather. Yes, 6.5 million percent. 60, so that is just like absolutely insane. And that goes for any crypto that has a really good community. It has a history of success with the founder. It has a lot of spotlight social media wise, and it has like a good team behind it. You can dollar cost average into this stuff, and you can make more in 2 years than you could make in 30 years on your money, like ROI wise. So if you extend that out 2 years, you're making a 10x, and then you dollar cost average, you make a 10x on your 10x, you just made 100x, and you can retire in 2 to 4 years. This is the long game that we talk about. These cycles are what we talk about. So what I'm looking at here is a couple things. We see a massive amount of interest back then. We see a big amount of interest going past 2019 into 2020 because you had the DeFi revolution, DeFi summer, etc. And then you see it take off when the market took off late 2020 into 2021. Guys, there's other things happening now too. There's things that I'm going to make a video on that's very, very important. Every country of the world now is looking to shift their traditional fiat currency into a digital dollar or a digital ruble or a digital pound, whatever the case may be.
I have to see how that works. How does that work exactly?
I'm going to tell you this. It's scary.
When you do that, let me know, because
for price appreciation, I need to know it like detail wise, like because all these countries are also in debt. So what are they just adopting it? Like,
guys, here's what's happened. So here's all right. If you could look at this objectively, and you look at the United States, and they've got traditional fiat currency, and they're inflating the currency to oblivion. They're trying to make the dollar go away. Why would they be doing that? It's to give them an excuse to replace it with something else. I think they are setting the stage to replace paper money with a digital programmable dollar.
What is paper money?
Paper money
does it actually exist?
It doesn't. Does not exist.
It's already gone.
Because there are no rules. There used to be rules. There used to be a gold standard. There are no rules anymore. None. So everybody's worried about China attacking the US dollar and Russia attacking the US dollar. The biggest problem here is the United States attacking the US dollar.
They refuse to make a system which people are accountable long term for the legislation that they're making. Therefore, it just causes downstream problems for everyone.
Dude, if you look at history, if you read Adam Smith was he studied cultures and civilizations for the past 1,000 years. And this is the type of thing. When you have government that's in charge of financial instruments, they inflate, they pay people around them, and then they destroy the currency. And it happens over and over and over again. It's called discretionary spending. Why do they say discretionary? It's because it takes the decision of a man. It means it's subjective. That means we have to bet on. We hope that the next guy who's in charge of the money system is smarter than the guy before, because if we're not, we're screwed.
Crypto's the only way to fix it. Like if there's no other real way to fix it other than make it unattainable by man to change.
Rags, think of
yeah.
like the digital dollar, the digital yuan, and then every other country is going to come out with their version of it. Now, think of those if they were in actual crypto. You and I and GRC, if somebody comes on and be like, "Hey, check out this new thing. It's good. This is crazy, right?" We would look at this and we would be like, "Oh, admin keys. Oh, you have to give up your like seed phrases. Oh, wait, this is a fucking rug pull waiting to happen. Like digital dollars, digital yuan is like." If you compare it to real crypto, it's like this is the worst scam there is out there.
Guys, it's scary. It's actually the digital dollar and the CBDC is the most nightmarish thing imaginable, in my opinion. Now, here's why. The digital dollar is not backed by private banks. It's going to be backed by the Federal Reserve. That's scary in and of itself. It's massive centralization, right? So that means that you don't owe a private bank, you owe the government. Now, what does that mean too? If this money is programmable and this money has some form of admin keys and this money is the CBDC network, it's a network. It's kind of like Ethereum. It's a layer one. You're going to be able to build on top of it. If you have your business that's run on the CBDC and the government decides that you've done something funky, instantly with the push a button, it can completely nullify all the funds in your bank account.
I feel like that already exists to a degree.
No, because there's cash. They can't nullify cash in your hand. You can still
even use cash to get a smoothie at the tropical smoothie down the street from my house.
You can't?
Nope. They don't accept it.
But cash allows you to do a lot of shit. Like you can still buy a house.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, what if people say no more cash accepted?
Here's the scary part too.
It's legal here. What if it's illegal everywhere? And then it's just like, so I'm saying, like, what if, as far as like, obviously adoption on that would be stupid.
Well, there's always people who will, like, I bought this house with cash, right? Like in the sense that it's the mortgage is not underneath my name. I gave somebody $45,000 cash, right? So that they can choose to do that cash however they choose to do that. It's not my taxes. I'm not telling them what to do, but that way it's easier to get the job done, right? There is people out there who are always going to want to do cash, but like there's what Rags is saying. I mean, there's it's going to be a nightmare when this stuff comes out.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's the other part. You know, somebody says here in the chat, we already owe the debt to non-government. The debt is owed to the Fed. But here's what I mean. Here's the point. And that's Orca, right?
Yeah.
So here's the point with that. The point is, if you dig down into the papers of the Treasury Department, the analysis that the White House has pulled out, all that sort of thing, you start using the term inclusive and equitable money. All right. Whenever I see the terms inclusive and equitable, my red flags go up. Like, what the hell's going on
how
here?
You do this like a teacher,
dude. So it's
I
so
love how
here's
you
the
explain
thing.
things like a teacher, where you like the points that you think about. You mentioned
They don't want there to be private banks. They want everything to be backed by the government because that's the ultimate amount of control. If you live in a small community and you can talk to 5 or 10 lawyers, bankers, etc., and say, "Hey, John, throw in 500,000. Hey, Dave, throw in 500,000. Susie, throw in 700,000." You can create a community bank. You can start lending off of that.
how much money we need to make a community bank real life, like
10 mil.
You need like how much?
10 million.
Not bad, Sam.
Nah.
Long term,
right?
You want to make
well, with crypto, do you think that, like, more of a theoretical question, do you think that banks are going to be necessary as we transition to crypto?
Well, it's not about necessary. It's about necessary in terms of freedom and liberty.
Yeah.
Because if the government controls the money and there's no privatized money, there's a big problem there, man. There's a big problem because they can clamp down on you. Government, the power, all that spirals out of control. Well, they say, well, we need a CBDC so we can track money laundering for terrorists. Well, then the question becomes, hey, what do you define as a terrorist? Am I a terrorist right now because I'm talking against the government? They can define that and they can cut me off. My bank account's on everything.
Heartbeat would call you. He might throw you under the rug on that one. He might say you are a terrorist.
He could. And I have red hair and I wouldn't blame him. That makes sense. So
yeah, Sam hasn't met Crypto Heartbeat. They're really good friends. I watch them all the time together. So they're like, they stream
Rags and Heartbeat are.
Mm-hmm. You know Heartbeat, Sam? Have you watched his
I think he's an older gentleman, right?
He's a nice gentleman. He's not an older gentleman.
Yeah,
He's
he's
a
like
nice gentleman.
75. Yeah.
Yeah, he's 93. No,
Please
he's
tell him
like
I told you that.
probably like 55, maybe
Guys, the
50.
CBDC is a scary thing because it's programmable. That means it can be used against you. And it can be used against companies. It can be used, for example, if they don't want you to make transactions on certain goods or services, they can invalidate those coins so they can't be used for that. They're going to use it for global warming. They're not, you can't use CBDCs to pay oil companies, and that's going to cause oil companies to have issues. And they're going to do all these things. It's a power thing, dude, and it's scary. We have got to have checks and balances. That's why the blockchain, that's why no admin keys work so well. They're going to take everything from blockchain, twist it into their own little thing, and create a really big problem for us. So we got to stick to what we have, like pulse chain, things like that. We've got to stick to this. That's our only pushback. If they control healthcare, education, which they already do, and if they start controlling the money even more, we're in a world of hurt. At least our kids
I
are.
might go to Arms for Pulse Chain.
Dude.
I might, dude. Like if it was like this or that, like you got to go back to this random normie job or like just army up for Pulse Chain. I'd be like, dude, let's army up.
Dude, learn about it, guys. I'm telling you, Google CBDC pros and cons and realize that it's programmable and it's scary. There will be no need for the IRS anymore. And you think that's good.
How does this happen? How does this occur? How does this play out in their favor if
everything
they wanted went?
I learned that too. So it has something to do with the equitable part, right? Here's what I've found out. I found this paper they were writing about this. They said that when they want to make the transition from US like paper money, fiat, over to the CBDC, this is freaking crazy, guys. I can't even believe I'm going to say this out loud. If you are a person,
be nice with your verbiage for the algo, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll be careful. If you are a person who makes over a certain amount of money and they're transitioning from the dollar, the fiat dollar, to the CBDC, they're going to do, let's just call it an airdrop for lack of a better term so we understand. They're going to airdrop you CBDC coins. But if you make over a certain amount, they might only airdrop you 75 cents on the dollar. 75. If you own $1 million in the bank, they're only going to airdrop you 75 cents on the dollar because they want it to be equitable. Well, where's the other part of that? Let's maybe you're they consider you marginalized. Maybe you're a minority. Maybe the government considers you to be LGBTQ plus, whatever the case may be. Instead of airdropping you $1, they're going to airdrop you $1.20 per dollar that you owe. They are going to take this opportunity to redistribute wealth in that way. They're going to give you more if you're considered marginalized.
Those guys can't hold their wealth. I could get 1 penny compared to their dollar, and
that's the whole point. Why would they do that? What's
makes
the
no
point?
Sense. It's just going to cause more hyper spending to the rich.
What happens? What happens when that happens? Like if you take all the money around the world and you spread it evenly to every human across the globe, you know what happens over the course of the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years?
Right back, we'd be in the same spot.
Correct. The people think that socialism solves these things. You name me a socialistic society that exists today or has existed in the past 150 years, or Marx and Engels did this in the late 1800s. Name me one society of socialism that had a middle class. Doesn't exist. On a long enough time horizon, it separates again into people that have a lot of money and people that don't. Now, why is that? It's because it's not being poor is not a symptom of capitalism or socialism. It's human behavior. It's decisions that drive whether or not somebody's successful. And you cannot legislate that type of outcome. They want a quality of outcome, and that's impossible. Give people opportunity, equal opportunity, fine, but you can't legislate outcome, and it's not fair. And that's what they're trying to do with this, because they're so freaking brainwashed. And they're not students of history, and it's disgusting.
Divine Marine Audio asks or says they can also add time frame to increase or decrease velocity. Do you know what that means, or can you give me perspective on that one? Let me see if I can find that one. Here it is.
add time frame to increase or decrease velocity. I guess velocity of money. I don't know exactly what he's saying, but it probably has something to do with the fact that the money is programmable.
So you could be like, hey, here's a $10,000, but it needs to be gone by the end of 90 days or something kind of thing.
Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, it's
do whatever you
such
like. Yeah.
it's like in the video that I'm doing, I describe it as the infinity stone, the infinity glove of finance. They're going to be able to do anything they want to you. They're going to be able to track everything that you do. If they do away with paper money, how are you going to transact? It's just going to force people to real cryptocurrency more and more and more and more. And I think these guys are way over their head. I think they don't understand what they're doing, but it's going to be weird, man. It's going to be real weird. And they're expecting this legislation to be drafted by all the departments here in the next 2 or 3 months. And this is quietly happening behind the scenes. But I'll tell you, to tie this all back, that search engine stuff that you were showing me just now, I think it has a lot to do with these cryptocurrencies that are being created for all these countries across the world, in my opinion.
I have another thing I want to share with you.
Please.
Yeah,
pull it up, and this is in regards to
Real quick before he
site-
pulls it up, just one sec. Guys, I dropped the Telegram link in there. Also, Kyler, always like to say hi to Kyler. Y'all have a good morning. Quick tap in, send the love, hit that like. Happy Friday. Kyler, if you're doing some sort of a audition today over in Hollywood, I hope you do. I hope you smash it. Good to see Kyler always. 130 pounds of muscle, about to be 135 pounds of muscle soon.
Yeah. Okay, so this site, I used to read, and I still do read medical literature, and one of the ways that I find a database for research papers to look into is a site NCBI, right? And there's PubMed on there,
Yep.
and you can search. And when you search, there's a little graph that comes up on the side and it tells you the number of papers that are released per year, right? So you get an idea of like when something might have been interesting, right? Because something happens in the news and then people start to research it. And these are like universities that are funded by government grants and stuff, or corporations that are funding research, like drug companies, stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've shared, let me pull this up. I did this for crypto, right? Because there's crypto research. And if I zoom in on here, it like makes it go away, I think.
I think it's good. I think you're good right there.
Okay. Can you guys still?
It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Okay. So check out this graph on the side. This is what an exponential curve looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's barely any activity in terms of research papers coming out back in the day that had crypto in the title or in the body of the text, right? And we can see that there's a massive increase, right? What you were literally just saying ties exactly into this, because governments around the world there's certain portions of the government that are trying to understand crypto. And this is going to increase because they're going to try to come out with their own crypto. And this is going to continue to explode. Imagine what happens in 2023, 2024. We're already at 16 research papers that have come out in 2022. We're towards the end of April. So if you figure this times 4 or times 3, right, you're going to be at an increase. And that's assuming that the velocity of papers coming out throughout this year are not increasing. This is astonishing. And what are your thoughts on this? So what do you think about, see how like there's a new low, right? Like the low here is on this.
I see it going. Sam, I'm not going to lie. I see this baby going sideways for a while.
What do you think though? Because the new sideways is going to be substantially higher in terms of search volume, because I don't think
it's
numbers
going to stay about where it's at. I think,
but I don't think these numbers have. I think this is education. I think that this is has not even been into the prices.
So I think something we're not talking about too is like your history with research papers, right? Like, so a lot of people in this community won't know as much about research papers in general than Sam, because he's so into bodybuilding research papers. He really knows his way around that environment of like, why do people, because when you're in bodybuilding, right, you always look at research papers and we know immediately they're 90% all marketing and redonkulous, but you need research studies to push products. You need them. You cannot have, like, in some way, shape, or form in the pharmaceutical world, they need to have studies about all this shit out, and they can manipulate those studies too in order to form marketing and get in the news and blah, 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 blah. So really what they're doing, it seems like, it's just like, is that kind of what you're talking about as far as like the studies?
Well, the studies are just interesting. So we see in terms of a uptake in we see an uptake in people. This is people just searching for it. So this is globally there's like something like 1 billion searches per day on Google, right? And this is YouTube here. So there's probably like 750 million searches per day. So remember how I talked about that gargantuan Grand Canyon of a knowledge gap between people who know crypto and like everybody else? I believe this is the starting point for the education for those, and it hasn't even slightly impacted prices yet. Because when GRC and I first started talking 60 days ago, I was like, hey, how long does it normally take people to get into whatever you're talking about? And he's like, 6 to 8 months. And then I've seen several comments that say same thing. Oh, it took me 6 months. It took me 8 months. It took me a year to get into crypto, right? And to understand it. So we're at the beginning stages. It takes people time to grasp the concepts. It's like trying to learn medical stuff. The terminology, the vernacular that is used is so different that it takes people time to absorb this and feed it into their system so they understand it. This, I think, is going to impact prices gargantuan, because think of people in terms of like there being 2% of the population or 2.5% of the population who has crypto. And of that 2.5% of the population that has crypto, maybe 5% or 10% have any fucking clue what's going on, right? Now, if there's an increase in the number of people getting into crypto, this is going to be massive. Like the next bull run is going to be stupid because of the increase. We see the same thing for the research papers. That's on the government side of things. That's on the university side of things. That's on the legacy side of things. The legacy side of the world, research papers, those type of people are going to be going into crypto, and big amounts of money are going to be dumping into crypto. I'm excited.
That's why, guys, it's so important, because guess who's going right with them? YouTube. You know what? Like, let's not beat around the bush here. You think YouTube's coming with us or coming with them? Hate to say it out loud, YT, but you sold out a long time ago.
Here's the thing: if you're
we
a
need
person,
another platform, don't we? Because
dude,
YouTube is education nowadays, right?
Well, what's going to happen with Twitter? What's going to happen with Elon?
That's true. Anything could happen at this point, right?
You don't know. Now, here's the thing: to speak to you, Sam, about this. Total assets under management in the United States, investments, etc., like about 100 trillion the last time I looked. I think it was like 95 trillion in 2018, 2019.
95 trillion, folks. Listen to what he's saying. 95 trillion. Now give him perspective to how big the crypto market is.
The crypto market cap over the past year or so has been ranging between a trillion and what, 2 or 3 trillion, right? So what's happening on a macro level right now? Well, we have the inflationary winds of time are blowing hard against us, and it looks like that's going to be happening for a long time. So if you're a person that's holding a lot of money, okay, you might be holding it in cash, you might be holding it in stocks or bonds, etc. This is not something that's sustainable for you. So you want to move these things over into assets that appreciate against the dollar. If there's 100 trillion out there, you might want to consider moving it into something like Hex, or really any crappy crypto out there is going to yield much better than what's happening right now against the US dollar. You know, this in about 10
made the
years
turn yet? Why are they doing it on the low already? They have to be. There has to be actually smart guys at the top of some of that shit. Like, I know
there are the
plebs,
people. The big money is the big money.
Yeah,
has
that's what
been
I'm
doing
saying.
it
So
for a while.
where are they at? And when when are they going to start paying for buying out some of the biggest dudes in crypto too, to work for them for whatever reason, right? Like, because that happens too, right?
The ETFs, right? The ETFs that are going to be offered to allow standard Joes access to crypto in their portfolio. Like, you can do that now, but to a broad level, a broad scale. In my opinion, I think that they're waiting for the CBDC coin to be created and released. And here's why. If you look at stable coin volume on decentralized exchanges, it accounts for 75 to 80% of all volume. All right. Now, why is that important? That means that the government associates stable coins and DeFi with basically the backbone of crypto at large. So I think what they're going to do, they're going to try to attack USDT. They're going to try to attack USDC. They're going to try to attack stable coins, and they're going to take their CBDC coin and inject it into the system and force everybody to use that instead. Now, what advantages do they have? First off, they're going to get the fees. Second off, they're going to be able to track 80% of the transactions out there. So I think that they're waiting to approve these ETFs in a big way. They're waiting for the CBDC. I think Gary Gensler, who's the SEC guy, he's waiting for this too. I think this is all part of the plan. They're going to attack stable coins, and they're going to use the CBDC to replace what's out there, or at least try to delegitimize what we have going on right now. That's my opinion. But Wales Only is in the chat. He might agree or disagree with that. I don't know. He's smarter than I am.
It's very, very interesting. And like, given that, like, I learned about crypto in terms of heard about crypto, even though I didn't get into it or pay attention to it even the slightest, back in 2013. And then it was just like outside my mind, I never even looked at it. I was just like, oh, Bitcoin's a thing. Like, didn't understand what it was or anything. And that's like 10 years ago at this point. So in my mind, I'm like, oh man, I'm already late to the game. But in reality, we are so early. Like this, what is that? 45x in terms of if there's about 100 trillion of assets, right? Managed in legacy, and 2 trillion, say, right? That's 45 times the amount in legacy that needs to be poured into crypto over the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades.
Can you imagine what that would do to the crypto market cap of Hex or Pulse Chain? If we get a small portion of that, that's why like people say, oh, it's too late. The crypto thing's already come and gone. No, it is not. We are on a time frame, a time horizon of 100 to 200 years with this. We're only 10 to 12 years, 10, 13 years in right now. So yeah, we're way early, guys. The pendulum is it's falling back very, very slowly. It's a big freaking pendulum. It's going to take a long time, but you are early. You look at the Amazon chart. I mean, look at the Amazon chart. It corrected down, and then it never went back. Never went back. But why is that? It's because the government likes to print inflation. And what do we do with that money? We spend money on stuff. Where does that money go? It goes to Amazon. It goes to the Fortune 500 companies. We're just the pass-through entity. We're like money laundering for the government. That's who we are. Crypto's a little bit different, though. Crypto has a constitution. Most of it does. Not as good as what we have here, but it's certainly better than the Federal Reserve. So,
what kind of constitution you be talking about?
Well, think about it, man. If the economy crashes, what's the standard operating procedure?
Print money.
That's it.
You want to increase the monetary supply so that
hyperinflation will be here until everything changes.
Here's what they do when the economy's cooking. It's rolling, right? Interest rates are low. Why is that important? It's because when you go to the bank, you want to low
I can leave here and get a house and I ain't even making money when they're real low.
Right. Or you want to build a business, you want a low interest rate. You don't want to shell that out. So what happens? Interest rates are low, the economy's booming, they're having to print money to keep up with that demand. But then what happens? They print so much money that they're afraid there's going to be runaway inflation. So what do? They rug the U.S. economy. They increase interest rates and they rug the economy. They have to slow it down. How garbage is that? When they sit here and accuse crypto of being volatile and they're literally raising interest rates to put the economy into a depression so we don't have runaway inflation, what type of trash is that? And that's verifiable. That's how it works. They have to raise the interest rates that other banks use to lend to each other, and that trickles down to us eventually, 3 or 4 banks down.
Right before I found crypto, I bought my house, and I swear to God, I paid like fucking $7,000 for the bitch. Like literally, I had like 10 grand in my bank account, and like, you know, I was making money per week, but like, I was like, you know, they gave me a big house on the corner. I was just like, whatever. You know what I mean? My dad always said, like, if you can get a loan, you know, my dad's a little more old school, of course. not crypto or anything, but like he was always like, if you can get a loan, that's probably the hardest part, because then you can work for yourself. Because if you have a house, then you can start building. And then he was always mentioned like it's nice to have a little bit of asset before you start working for yourself, because it's hard when you're working for yourself. It's harder to get a loan off the jump.
It is.
Well,
Go ahead.
I want to pull, because I'm going to go in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to pull up that tweet.
Yeah,
that
please dig right
gave
in.
Preview about. So this is something, and I'll give it a little bit of context. And then Rags to Riches, when you do that video, when you're done with it, if you want to do like a live stream on my channel or do it again here and like just dive in, let me know, because that'd be super interesting. I'd love to learn more about that. So a week ago, I made a video about how the PulseX buy and burn feature causes selling pressure on Hex and Pulse. And then I'm watching the Richard Hart live stream yesterday, I think it was, maybe the day before. And I watched it he posting it, right? And he's talking about exactly what I described in the video and how it actually creates selling pressure. So I was like, let me do an update video on this, right? Like I literally just described this, how this buy and burn on PulseX goes through and creates selling pressure on Hex and Pulse, in the sense that if you have LP, right, you have Pulse and Hex. Actually, let me play the clip here so everybody can get to see exactly what we're talking about.
Perfect.
Pull this up, share this with you guys. We'll add that to the screen. Okay, now I'm going to play this. I think it's about 65 seconds to 90 seconds long. So hopefully you guys could hear this. Let me know in the comments.
To that Hex Pulse pair as part of
let me go back a little bit. I think it was good. Here is where
Full screen it too.
PulseX tokens are burned. Whose tokens exactly are getting burned? It's a great question. So the Fee2 address in the Uniswap v2 code, which is forked to create the PulseX contracts, scrapes a percentage of fees, 21.7% of fees. And those fees, when you do a swap, are paid in the form of the token that you're getting rid of. So if you were to swap, say, Pulse for Hex, then the contract would scrape some of the Pulse. And if you were to swap Hex for Pulse, it would scrape some of the Hex. Then when someone adds or removes liquidity to that Hex Pulse pair, as part of their add or remove function, that person pays to send the scrape tokens to the Fee2 address. And so the Fee2 address acquires over time, as people add and remove liquidity from the LP, 21.7% of the fees, and the fees are whichever pair was gotten rid of to get the other side of the pair. And so the tokens that are being burnt, and so what happens is now anyone can run a contract which then uses those scraped Fee2 address paid fee percentages, and then buys Pulse X with those, so the inputs are the scraped fees from those other coins, and then it trades them for Pulse X.
Okay, so just to give a recap of what we just talked about there. So in case anybody was like, what the fuck is going on here? As an LP provider, so you're providing liquidity, say between Pulse and Hex. When somebody's like, hey, I have Pulse and I want to switch to Hex, they pay a 0.29% fee on Pulse X. 21.7% of that fee just sits there, and that's going when somebody pulls money out or adds money to that pool of Pulse X and Hex. They pay for the transaction to move those coins that have been collecting there to a Fee2 address, which then somebody can run a function, which then it takes the coins in that address and it swaps them into Pulse X to burn them. So we're earning fees in Pulse, we're earning fees in Hex. So when somebody runs that function, what do they have to do? Sell Hex, sell Pulse. So this feature creates selling pressure on Pulse and Pulse X. Now, this is where I made another video updating this yesterday. Hopefully you can see this.
I'll pull it up once you're all the way there.
Okay, there you go. Here's the tweet.
Okay, here we.
So this is what I posted over here on Twitter. I was like, anyone watch the Richard Hart stream where he confirmed what I said last week, that Pulse X buy and burn will create selling pressure on Hex and Pulse. Full video with RH clip, right? And I just, what we literally just watched, right? And I posted this at 15 hours ago. Like within 5 minutes of posting this, Richard Hart actually goes on and says this: fees are generated when someone sells 100% of a thing in a trade for something else. 0.06% of that total already dumped sale is sent to a buy and burn. How much bigger is the 100% already sold than the tiny 0.06%? And so then I ask a clarifying question here, because I'm like, oh, 6%. You in the video you said 21.7%. He's talking about the 6% of the total fee amount, right? So, and I was like, 21% is what you said in the video, right? And he said 0.06% is 21% of that fee.
The total fee,
right? So then I was like, all you're doing is confirming what I said, though. The swap is selling the buy. The buy and burn doesn't happen when it happens. Then it happens when the LP is added or removed, which creates additional selling pressure. No. So this is where I'm like, oh, he seems to have gotten a little butthurt, or like, you guys can let me know what your thoughts are, right? This was my perception when I read this, right?
Get the UFC cage ready, Richard. Let's train, brother.
Let's go. So he's like, no.
Nah, we're joking, guys. Obviously, no hate to Richard Hart at all. By me, at least, like this dude's.
Oh, correct. I'm just
the fact that this guy is going out of his way to message random people like me and Sam online about our questions is ungodly amount of respect by me. Just for that alone, nobody does that.
Correct.
Nobody does that.
And there's reasons. You know how Richard Hart talks about being memeable, or like some of the fancy shit he buys just because people are interested in that shit. Well, there's also reasons I use certain language, like creating selling pressure, right? Because people are, oh my god, like, I'm fucking scared. Like, what is going on? Like, I just put all this money into Pulse X or Pulse, and this dude's talking about how it's creating selling pressure automatically, like, because it's sensationalized, but it's also accurate to a certain extent, right? So he goes on to say, no, it's just staggering the total sale from 100% instant to 0.94% instant and 0.06% on the buy and burn. The total sell is the same size as the buy, the guy that sold, causing it in the first place. So on the one hand, it's like, if somebody's going to sell $100,000 of Pulse and they're going to switch it to Hex to earn the fee that's going to sit into that address that's going to be caused by the buy and burn, it's staggering the sale, right? He's selling $100,000. 99.94% of that is going to happen today, and then the rest is going to happen in the future, is what he's saying, which is also just confirming exactly what I just said. But what he doesn't talk about is that if you look at reality, there are plenty of pairs where you can have hundreds or millions of dollars switch back and forth in one day without much price movement. So what does that happen if we just trade things back and forth, right? We see what happens with Coinbase. They just collect fees, right? So you have this trading back and forth between Pulse and Hex, right? By the end of the day, prices barely moved. And this happens multiple times throughout the year. What does that do? Well, that just creates fees in Hex and Pulse that at some later point, when people add or remove from the LP pool, goes to selling Hex, selling Pulse, and purchasing Pulse X. So,
what I was alluding to Sam, because he talks to me like he tweets all the time. So it was very normal to me what everything he was saying. It was just specific asking for. But the only thing that I was telling Sam is, which he didn't have to there's no reason to mention this in his argument. It had nothing to do with this, is that yes, that could be negligible completely for the long term or even short term price action. but it's the trigger word, right? So we're talking about sell pressure in crypto, which is like a well, there's sell pressure, even though if anyone that knows about crypto knows deflationary coins fail all the time, inflationary coins fail all the time. Some deflationary coins don't fail, some inflationary coins fail. So really, it's just more so about the verbiage used and Sam understanding like some of the nuanced verbiage rather than like nobody understanding that pulse is going to the moon, right? Like
Well,
it could be negligible. It could also not be, but that's not really the point. The point is just the physical cell pressure. That is just a physical truth.
correct. The magnitude of the effect, right? So what we're talking about, what I just described, might be trivial. It might be very, very trivial amount. That does not say what I'm saying is inaccurate. That is 100% accurate. It could be a small effect. Or what if it's $1.2 billion a day in trading volume?
Well, let me ask you this, Sam. Let me just ask you this. So I'm going to ask you, so based on what you're thinking, what are the processes here to eventually get to be able to buy and burn this token? What's the whole process?
Read this one and then answer that question, Sam, just to make
Mhm.
sure this doesn't maybe clarify. It looks like a good answer.
I think what RH is saying is that 100% of the sales are already being sold, yes, and that the magnitude of that is much greater than 0.06% and is used for the buy and burn. 0.06% is used for the buy and burn. It is not additional selling pressure. It's part of the original sell pressure.
No, it's
However,
not.
what we just
It's not.
described is different.
Yeah, it is different. So all but 0.06% is immediate sell. All but 0.06%. The token that you're selling for, let's say it's Pulse, a portion of that is going to be put away in a liquidity pool and you swap it. And then when somebody swaps Pulse for PulseX in the future, the rest of that's going to be sent to the buy and burn. So then the question really is, like you said, Sam, is it going to be a significant effect? What magnitude? In my mind, I'm thinking that it's going to be very quick. It's going to be very instant because of the volume of transactions on a daily basis. I think that gets zeroed out same day, every single time.
What do you mean? So let me ask you a question on this too. So the point in the video was that if you look at the magnitude of from a dollar standpoint, if you compare something that's a percentage, as in 0.29% of PulseX, versus a fraction of a penny for a transaction, you have a fraction of a penny and then 25% of that is burnt, just directly burnt on Pulse, right? So you're paying, say, a tenth of a penny. That means 0.00025 cents are burned for every transaction on Pulse. If you look at on PulseX, you have a $10,000 thing of a transaction, and you have 20.29% that is burnt, or the cost of that, and 21.7% of that comes out to be about 29 bucks that goes to the buy and burn. And every one of those, and then some percentage of that 29 bucks, say if it's 10%, that's $2.90 on a $10,000 thing. $2.90 is much greater than 0.00025 cents.
Yeah, but it's kind of like it's almost like it's an escrow. Like when you sell, what is it? 99.94% is sold immediately. The fee is going to be held for a very short amount of time, 0.06%. And then when somebody swaps that Pulse for PulseX pair, that's where the buy and burn actually occurs. I think that happens very fast. It's already accounted for.
I don't.
I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick. You got another 5-10 minutes, Sam?
Cool. Yeah, go ahead. What do you mean exactly when you say?
Go back to the video where he's talking about, let's say we want to sell Hex for Pulse. I think he was saying Hex for Pulse, and then we'll break it down from there.
Okay, cool. Let me pull this back up. And remember, the adoption is what will offset this, in my opinion, right? Because if you have a giant increase in adoption, like that would easily negate some of this or all of it, or it wouldn't even be like it's going to be nothing. But
sure,
when you think about like any given day in the market, and remember, we're operating on a 365 versus 270 at legacy, right, roughly. So you have 270 trading days in legacy, right, and 365 in crypto. So you have 365 days. There's a lot of those days where Pulse has changed to Hex. Hex has changed to Pulse by different parties for various different reasons. And the price doesn't change, even though there could be a million one way and a million the other way. Right. So a million one way or the other way creates a fee for a buy and burn, even though nothing's happened to the price.
Yeah, how you can't create a buy and burn for PulseX if you're trading a hex and pulse pair. So it has to take one of the sides.
What do you mean exactly?
Well, think about this. How are you going to burn PulseX if PulseX isn't going to be a part of the transaction? So if you go to the DEX, if you swap hex for pulse, so immediately 99.94% of that is going to be sold. The one that you're swapping for is going to be put into quote unquote escrow until somebody comes into the liquidity pool and swaps, for example, that pulse that you just swapped for hex or whatever. That pulse has to be interact with Pulse X. So you have to have that other transaction to be able to take that Pulse X and burn it.
So nobody else has. It would be when liquidity is added or removed.
Yes.
And then
if you're swapping hex for
that
Pulse,
just goes to a new address. And then from what he says here, once it goes to the new address, so added or removed, sends those fees that have collected to a new address that somebody can create a function for to buy and burn that. Or is that what you're saying?
3 or 4 part process, really. Well, and let's listen to it and we'll break it down.
Cool. All right, let me play this.
When PulseX tokens are burned, whose tokens exactly are getting burned? It's a great question. So the fee2 address in the Uniswap v2 code, which is forked to create the PulseX contracts, scrapes a percentage of fees, 21.7% of fees. And those fees, when you do a swap, are paid in the form of the token that you're getting rid of. So if you were to swap, say, Pulse for Hex, then the contract would scrape some of the Pulse. And if you were to swap Hex for Pulse, it would scrape some of the Hex.
Yeah, pause it.
Yep. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so step 1, he's saying that if you go to the DEX and you're swapping Pulse for Hex, then when you swap that Pulse for Hex, a portion of that Pulse is going to be scraped and, quote, for lack of a better words, put in escrow. So that's step 1. All right, play.
The contract would scrape some of the Pulse. And if you were to swap Hex for Pulse, it would scrape some of the Hex. Then when someone adds or removes liquidity to that Hex Pulse pair, as part of their add or remove function, that person pays to send the scrape tokens to the fee2 address.
So the
fee2 address is the escrow. So when someone adds or removes liquidity, they're going to take that Pulse that was scraped, because Pulse was swapped for Hex. They're going to take that Pulse that was scraped and send to the fee2 address. All right. Press play. That's step 2.
To send the scrape tokens to the fee2 address. And so the fee2 address acquires over time, as people add and remove liquidity from the LP, 21.7% of the fees, and the fees are whichever pair was gotten rid of.
Pulse in this instance.
The other side of the pair. And so the tokens that are being burnt, and so what happens is now anyone can run a contract, which then uses those scraped
Pulse
fee2 address paid fee percentages, and then buys Pulse X.
So that's the last step. Somebody else can run a function, right? That function contract goes through, takes the fees that have accumulated, and goes out and does swaps or a series of swaps to get to PLSX, and then it takes the PLSX and burns that.
Correct. There you go.
Okay, so was that like helpful in terms of like the steps and the sequence here?
I don't know if I'm agreeing with you or disagreeing with you, because honestly, I was walking through this in my head at the same time, but that's how I understood. It's kind of like the fee2 address is an escrow account, and we have to wait for that contract to run for the buy and burn function to actually cause that to happen. So it's 3 or 4 steps. I don't know if that helps you out. It definitely helped me out.
Yeah, that's why I did the video, because I was like, oh wow, he's explaining exactly what I talked about in the video.
Now,
So
here's the thing. So you're saying that in those 3 steps, let me think. So we swap pulse for hex. Pulse goes to the Phi2 address, and it's not sold per se.
yet.
Well, it is sold technically, I guess. And then, but it realigns itself very quick. So the question is, how long does that stay in that address? And I don't think it stays there very long. I think these are, like I said, millions. It's going to zero itself out every day at some point.
So I agree. It could happen daily. It might happen every couple of days, depending on how quickly LP is removed and added to pools, right? And then how quickly somebody presses or pays for the function to have the to address that's holding the fees to buy and burn those. Like those are going to be multiple steps. Could happen multiple times per day, right? We don't have this information. I don't know. I agree with you that it could be every day or multiple times per day. But when you look at what happens in the market, so you have to, when you think of a game theory, right? There's like single series games, and then there's like multi-series games. So you have a multi-series game, which just is like a sequence of things happen over time, right? Versus like a single event. So if you're like Hex Pulse, you take $1 million over here, you switch it over to here, a portion of those fees go through this process to conceptualize what's happening, right? So you have 21% of the fee sits there. Somebody adds some money to it. They're paying to move that to the to address. Then somebody else pays, and they take that money that was there, and it goes and swaps that pulse for the Pulse X, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that drives up the price of Pulse X, or the demand for Pulse X, right? And decreases the pulse. Maybe just a trivial amount. However, when you look at 365 days a year, there's going to be plenty of days where you have money flow through this way, and then you have from other parties, and they flow through this way. So there's going to have back and forth, because everybody has an independent economic interest of what they want to do. So if you have just in this example, Pulse and Hex, but remember, Pulse is going to be a side for a bunch of other pairs.
It can't accumulate, though. That's the thing. Because
I think you think of accumulate as in multiple days, weeks, or months. Think of accumulate as in if it's run 10 times a day. Okay.
No, I'm talking about, here's the thing. Logically, it can't accumulate, because you're going to run the function, and the very next time a transaction done, it's going to zero out. It's 1 for 1. It's not like one.
But it's not gonna. That means that in every single moment of the day, the function is going to be run, and it's not.
No, not every single moment, every single transaction. So if you run the function once, or if you run the transaction once where you're swapping 2 pairs on the DEX, the very next time that a transaction occurs, it's going to zero out.
But it's only going to happen if money is added or removed. If money is added or removed 10 times a day.
I'm saying, we're assuming that there's going to be more than one transaction a day. If there's a million transactions,
when you say transactions, are you referring to a transaction of swapping? Are you referring to a transaction of money being added or removed? Are you referring to the function of paying to buy and burn?
I'm referring to, if we're taking Pulse, for example, it goes to the Phi2 address. I'm assuming that a transaction will occur in the liquidity pool of Pulse X to Pulse at more than one time a day. That's what I'm saying.
Meaning there's going to be an added and removed from the liquidity pool. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The buy and burn function will occur after the first transaction occurs, Hex or Pulse to Hex. Pulse gets scraped, goes to the Phi2 address, and I'm assuming that in 1 day's time frame, there will be more than one transaction in the Pulse to Pulse X liquidity pool that will trigger that buy and burn.
Okay, so what if I understand you correctly? Please interrupt me if I don't understand. So what you're saying is there's going to be, obviously, on the swap section of transactions, there's going to be plenty of swap transactions, Hex, Pulse, Pulse Hex, etc. Right? That's going to generate fees. What you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, is that there's going to be liquidity moving in and out of the pair, that pool, Hex Pulse, on a daily basis, maybe 3 times a day, maybe 14 times a day. We don't know. Would that be accurate so far?
I would say millions of times a day, or hundreds of thousands of times.
You think people are going to be adding and removing from liquidity, like 100,000 times a day?
Well, if we're talking about Pulse, for example, that's a primary pair. 100, maybe thousands. Let's just say more than one. That's all we have to say. More than once a day.
Okay, perfect. So say if it's 100 times a day.
Yeah.
Right? And say on average it happens whatever that 24-hour period is, divide that into sections, and just for simplicity's sake, we'll just say it happens every, 26 seconds or whatever the case is.
Sure.
During that 26 seconds, the swap is going to have more transactions. So if we're saying there's 1,000 transactions LP to like withdraw or add, then there's probably going to be a magnitude more transactions from Pulse Tax, right? Because that's going to be what most people do. Most people are not providing LP. So then during that 26 seconds, there's a accumulation of fees, right? So during that 26 seconds, there's an accumulation of fees. 26 seconds come around, somebody pulls money out of there, that gets sent to that address. And then, so what I think, if I understand you correctly, is that when that happens, that 26 comes out, you think that somebody's automatically going to be like, oh shit, there's money into the buy and burn. Let me run this function. Let me pay to run this function so that the fee goes out through that process and buys and burns. Is that accurate? Is that
I don't even follow you.
Which part?
I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to see what you're saying. I'm trying to understand what you're saying. So
Anyone
maybe
in
I
the
don't
comments want to
understand.
chime in? Well, let me read a couple. Maybe we can brainstorm for a second. There's a couple good comments. Real quick. Keep in mind that Pulse is also getting burned with every transaction. That's true.
We just talked about that.
They touched on that. Danny Boy wants to know what to eat to lose 15 pounds on Sunday, Danny Boy. Sunday, Danny Boy, come in. That's when we're going to get all for free, guys. This is all for free. If you're here on Sunday, you can participate in the challenge. All the signups happening Sunday. Challenge starts May 1st. Rags, what's your take on that? Real quick, couple seconds.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go. Okay, we like that. Okie dokie. All right, take the divs, re-up what I lost in the permanent loss, and restate the LP after adding the ratio back. Guys, GRC is 100% lost at this point. Wales only escrow. I'm just pulling stuff up, hoping something clicks for someone. Wales only in the house, absolutely. Wales only your stream last night.
You know,
absolutely amazing. I don't know who that guy is that you were talking to, but he was cool.
Well, sorry, what was that?
I love drawing stuff. Like if we had a whiteboard, I could have this conversation with you better.
Okay.
Hey, we can make that happen next time you come on here. We can make that
whiteboard. There's a feature. I don't know.
I know. Bullish is in the background right now. Like, oh yeah, we got that.
There's a way to. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try real quick on my side. There's a way to like annotate on top of here, I believe. But I don't know.
You could draw a mustache on him.
But I just don't know how to do it yet. But okay, it's we can talk about it more in depth in another video if you want to do. I'd love to hear your macro analysis.
More in depth.
I would. You know what I would like to do? Here's what I would like to go to the Uniswap contract code and learn and just see what that says. That's how you would do it. But it's
say that again. Sorry.
Yeah, I would like to go to the Uniswap code and actually see how it functions on the Uniswap code, so we could see the step by step. But essentially,
do you know how to?
Go ahead.
Do you know how to understand the Uniswap code and look into that? Like
but the white papers typically have a breakdown of those functions.
I read the white paper for Uniswap V2. It described what he described there, but not the buy and burn feature of it.
You're saying that it goes to escrow, but I'm saying that it zeroes itself out with the next transaction. You're saying that the transactions can actually build up depending on whose volume is higher or lower. Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily whose volume is higher or lower. It's think of like a 3-step process. The first is just swapping. Pulse X or X, right? And any other pairs, right, are happening. Now there's a buildup of fees between all of the different pairs, so different tokens out there, right? And if there was 26 seconds later when somebody adds or removes on average to different pools, right, at this time period. So this is the first step. The second step is adding or removing, and these are happening at the same time. When this person adds money to the pool, whatever pool that might be, they pay for whatever tokens were earned in that pool to be sent to the fee to address.
Right.
So now this address is just like collecting money, right?
Also,
And-
whatever.
And then simultaneously, somebody could run a function, a contract, and pay to get this done, so they could pay to take those, to route them through the process to end up with Pulse X to buy and burn. So it's like three things that are kind of like all broken down separately, but they could all be done simultaneously. Is that,
Sam, go to
is that
browserboard.com. See what that does.
browser board Wales only on the game here? Let me see if I can pull it
Wales
up.
only. His stream last night. I hate that I don't know the guy's name because I wasn't looking at the screen. I was only listening. But his name was anyway, he didn't show his picture, but man, they were talking. They just went down the T-share rabbit hole, and I was just loving it.
Cool.
Wales only. He's one of those folks. Like I'm pretty stupid, so it takes a while for me to understand things. The more you listen to him, the more things make sense. That's what I like about him.
Yeah, he just walks through it in a more of like what goes on long term with the, he just knows a lot about financial stuff. Like that's the thing. When I explain people to Hex, I tell them they have to start researching because it's like I don't have the financial background to really back. But a lot of people when they onboard, they don't.
Look at this.
Hi, Bullish. How are you doing?
This is a cool setup here, bro. I can make some. This is actually, I do art for a living. This is called an NFT. I'm gonna sell it for $25.
Sam's first NFT.
First NFT. It's gonna be about.
Well, let's make sure we trademark that. Make sure Sam's never gets his hands on it.
But was that like when you think about it in 3 steps, like breaking it down like that in 3 steps? Did that kind of like slightly clarify it a bit?
Like I understood what he was saying. I went back through it to make sure that both you and I are on the same page about it. And the only thing that it comes down to at this point is whether or not those fees can accumulate based on activity on the decentralized exchange. That's just what it boils down to. I think that's what the argument is. Am I correct in saying
has
that?
entered the chat, so I must read this out. ETH burns billions in ETH due to the burn of transactions. ETH went down 50% at the same time. Burning is a long-term benefit, not a short-term. It could take 5 years to matter. Demand and liquidity. Hex is the way. Whenever he drops a comment in, I always like to take a double take at it, of course.
Sure.
Thank you, Hex is the way, for the brilliant comment. And that's a lot of what we talked about today in a nutshell, too. Like, in a kind of a nutshell, like a lot of, we could sit here all day long, 3 random dudes, and talk about the specifics down to the white paper, down to the absolute knuckles of it. But 99.9999999% of people will never do that and never would even like to do that. So what you have to understand is like, this is also marketing. Like, just because he's not highlighting certain things about this process that might be maybe somewhat negligibly counterproductive doesn't mean that they don't exist. And that's kind of what Sam is kind of saying. People will be incentivized to run the burn function the second it's more profitable to run it versus the gas fee. So
I sent it in private chat, Sam.
Okay, cool. This is what you were saying, I think, too, there.
Super cool, Sam.
If you Control F and hit burn, it'll go down to burn. Yeah, it talks about the whole function. Ninja.
Okay, so can you tell me what this is? Because I will read this later today and probably do this.
Yeah, so it says it talks about the burn function and how it actually operates. That's all it is. The whole process, start to finish, even creating the liquidity pools and the destination addresses, the fee2 addresses, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. I'm looking forward to this. Looks like it's a 20, 30 page.
No, just Control F, hit Control F and put burn. And and then you can go down to, I think it says burn wrapped ETH, burn WETH, and then it'll talk all about it. Or you can put remove liquidity, Control F, remove liquidity.
Guys, I dropped a poll in there before we get off. Please answer the poll. Is Sam a robot? I really want to know. He's not going to admit it on stream. Maybe in the green room. But is Sam Stolt actually robotic. It
Don't ask that question in front of Trap Gravity, dude.
Well, Trap Gravity is actually good texture.
Thanks for sharing that. I actually want to. I don't want to try to even read it on here because it's so long.
Yeah, we can talk about it later.
Yeah, but if you like, when you do that video, I definitely want to
open your DMs.
Yes, I got to get into my DMs. Anybody
Write that down, you sick son of a bitch, dude.
I have like a bunch of these bits here, so anyway, I tag
people want to comment. People want to talk to you. Virtual assistant coming soon for Sam Stolt, so he can produce upwards to 55 videos a day.
I'll just live stream my whole day. And
live stream, have clips while you're live streaming produced to another channel, but just 24-hour live stream.
Can you imagine that? Like setting up a system where you could effectively live stream for say 8 hours a day, and there's a system in place to take pieces of the live stream and create content elsewhere.
What do you think the big channels do? That's what they do. If you go right now to the I know we keep mentioning this name, but you never know what it is, but what's that fucking shit called? With Myron Gaines. He does that like girl podcast where he talks about like girls and stuff and like alpha male shit. Really popular. Kareem was on it the other day, has like 1 million+ subs. Channels like that.
He said the name Fresh. Is that the
Fresh and Fit? Fresh and Fit. That's right. It's Fresh and Fit. Myron Gaines was actually my personal trainer a few years back, believe it or not, which is kind of weird. But yeah, they just do lots of live streaming, clip it out, have a separate channel. The separate channel generally earns, well, I don't want to give all the alpha away, but it's pretty obvious to me. The separate channel with all the clips generally does better earnings wise, if that's what you're worried about. Because once people are popular and your clips are flying around, the algo just sucks it right up. Like, and they're bite sized. So you want a clips page where you can have your clip. Don't worry if the sub count's small. When Pulse Chain blows up, that's not going to matter. You need to be there with the page already and have it. I have a lot of time on my hands and guys helping me. So
if anybody wants to help, hit me up in the DMs. I will definitely get to the DMs.
Guys, I'm dropping the clips channel below. Please follow the clips channel. It's actually super dope. I'm getting into it real hard. I love the idea of the clips channel. I love how some of those random videos get sucked up into the algo, and it's teaching me a lot more. Like I was talking to Sam earlier about standalone videos and like what the algo kind of does with them, which is cool. But the content has to be kind of solid on those, or it doesn't really work.
I gotta run. So
please, if anyone wants to follow Sam Stolt, all of his stuff is below. He has a supplement company. He is a gym fanatic. His DMs are absolutely bogged down, and he'll never get back to you. But if you join the Telegram, you might catch him when he's in there at night. Join the Gym Rat Crypto Telegram. He'll answer a question in there too. We're working on his secretary's been on vacay for can't get over it. She's got all his seed words, and she won't come back. But anyway, guys, I want to say thank you to Rags. Rags, you've been there for me since the beginning. You are a pillar in this community as far as someone that is a leader, someone who is nice, a family person that you can put a product behind reasonably without feeling like some gym rats behind it, So my parents certainly appreciate it. Anyone, like I give my parents all Heartbeats content, it's a little more relatable. It just is. Like, let's be honest. Like if you have kids and shit, like that's just a different kind of realm of thinking. But guys, I gotta go. Everyone have a wonderful day. Hold on, let's play this 13.
If this was me, no, it's not me. And then I saw another guy asking about an influencer. Like I retweeted this Gym Rat Crypto that's having a Hexagon Fitness Challenge. There's guys impersonating him. So